Me? Obsessed with you? Yes. Yes, I am.
Hello friends, welcome back to MerrilyMaralee. I'm MerrilyMaralee. I make videos about getting into the animation industry, living your best life, and everything in between. This is our third and final installment of the Landing the Job series, all about landing a job in production management and animation. If you haven't seen parts 1 and part 2, just hold on, stop, do not pass go, or collect $200. Go check those guys out first. Don't worry, we'll be here waiting for you. In part 1, we talked about different ways to tailor and improve your resume. And in part 2, we talked about, what did we talk about? Oh, we talked about building relationships and networking. So I know that you won't want to miss them. Go ahead. And when you're ready, we'll be here ready to dive into tips and tricks for interviewing. And that's in person and virtual. So this is gonna be a really great session with a little surprise giveaway at the end. So stick around, stay tuned, get comfy, get some tea, and let's get into it. And again, as always, I have a lot of really great information collected and gathered for you guys that I really want to relay and make sure that I'm saying everything. So if you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. We come prepared here all the time, but I also don't feel like I need to memorize every single bullet point off the top of my head because, you know, it doesn't need to be like that sometimes. We're open, we're fun, we're casual, so don't mind that. To make this super easy to follow and digest, we're kind of gonna break this down into 3 phases. So phase 1 is gonna be pre-interview, phase 2, during the interview, phase 3, post-interview. In the pre-interview phase, you know, very simple to understand that term. This is before you're actually doing the interview, but you have gotten the interview. So you're past the screening process, you know an interview is coming up. This is what you need to be doing in that time frame. You should be getting all of the reference and research that you possibly can, you know? Research questions that you could be asked. And you can kind of do that by a typical online, you know, research, you know, Google of like, oh, what are the most asked questions for interviews, or, you know, that same thing, but for a specific studio. Or you can take it a step further and you can reach out to people who you know already have the job and ask them like, hey, I'm interviewing for this job. Can you kind of give me some tips, some tricks, you know, stuff that would be beneficial for me to know? What kind of questions did they ask? What's the interview process kind of like? So definitely do that. I did that myself. I reached out to a ton of different PAs that were already working at the studio that I was interviewing for, or the studios that I was interviewing for. And I'd be like, hey, I saw your PA here. That's really awesome. I'm about to, you know, get ready for an interview coming up with them. Is there anything that you could tell me that might help me in this situation? Like anything that you feel is beneficial for me to know? What kinds of questions did they ask? How many rounds? Stuff like that. So make sure you're spending a lot of time kind of like researching those questions. And then also it's really good for you to have like your answers prepared as well, and some good like character building stories. And what I mean by character building stories are like, if they were to be like, oh, tell us about a time where you had to operate under extreme pressure or something like that. Just like those moments that you have that you know you can like really pull out some good information. For example, like mine back in the day, I didn't have any industry work experience prior to my interview. So the only like experience I had was in college, and then I had work experience at pet stores. Very random, but my go-to story was basically like my boss at my first pet store job was running like a couple hours behind on a Saturday morning, and it was just me and my coworker, and we basically had to open the store by ourselves, which doesn't sound too crazy, but with the added bonus of the floors had been completely deep cleaned the night before, so the floors, like all of the displays were completely like pushed all the way to the back of the store. So we had to resituate the entire store, like all the shelves, the animal cages, like everything had to be replaced. Not to mention your typical morning checklist, like things that you need to do beforehand. We didn't have keys to the store because we're not managers, like we're just, you know, we're basic employees. So we had to wait a really long time for someone else to come and open the store for us. They didn't get the store open until like 10 minutes before the store actually opened, and there was already a line outside ready to go in, because Saturday morning at a pet store is actually pretty poppin'. So there was, you know, all of this stuff we had to like do super quickly in like 5 minutes to try and like rush and prep and get ready, and then like open the store. And then, you know, everyone's like grabbing their dog food and grabbing treats, and someone wants to play with the gerbils, and someone wants to hold the bunny, and someone needs fish in the back, or someone needs crickets for their lizard, or someone needs to, you know, ring up their stuff. They came in, they already know what they're getting, and now they're at the register, and there's only 2 of us. So one of us is trying to, you know, ring people up and, hey, don't touch that bunny. I'll be there in just a second, and you know, that kind of thing. So that story, I am able to pull out different parts of it depending on like the questions I'm being asked. So I could use that story if they asked me about working under stress. I could use it if they asked about communication, about multitasking, about really just any kind of thing. It can fit all depending on what part of the story I choose to focus on. So if you want to talk about communication and dealing with different personalities and stuff like that, I can talk about how I had to handle a situation where customers were, you know, yelling and screaming at me, and I had to maintain calm, get to the root of the problem, communicate calmly, smoothly, effectively on how to best navigate the situation, yada yada yada, fret, all those kinds of things. So I tend to have like three good character building stories under my belt that I can pull from at any time. So think about different times that you went through anything similar, and just kind of have those on lock and really know them inside and out, so you can pick from different parts of the story to best accentuate the question that they're asking. You also would want to research the people that are gonna be interviewing you. At the end of any interview, you will almost always be given the opportunity to ask your own questions. And let me stress to you, always ask questions. Like, don't ever complete the interview and just be like, no, I don't have any questions, thank you so much. Don't do that. You know, show that you're engaged, that you're taking this seriously, that you're excited, that you're curious, open to learn about new things. Take the time to research the people that you're meeting with so you can ask them personalized questions, or even just have a few basic questions on hand too, if there's someone pops in your interview who you didn't know would be there. And you don't really have to go like full stalker mode of like, you know, going through their whole itinerary and stuff like that, but just kind of have a general idea of everyone's journeys and stuff like that. And they'll be like, oh wow, you did your research, you know? And I feel like I can give you like a good example of how you can ask a personalized question without being weird. So like, let's say our interviewer is Michelle. So I could say like, I wanted to take some time to educate myself on the people that I'd be meeting with today. And Michelle, I noticed that you've been with the studio for about 20 years. That's really awesome. Congratulations. And I was really curious about what you think has kept you so successful in your position and your time here. Or like, you know, what has helped you become or helped you be so successful in your position in your time here, something like that. And then like some basic questions are like, oh, what's your favorite thing about working here? Or can you give me like an idea about the culture here, you know, how that is? Yeah, just like basic questions. And honestly, like I always try to, me personally, if you're having like groups of interviews, like you're being interviewed by different groups of people, then I tend to pick out like 2 to 3 people in that group and kind of have like a specific question for them or assign a question to them. And I just kind of write that out the whole way, but always ask questions at the end. And at the end, you should always be finishing up with a question about next steps, you know, what you need to do next, and if there's anything that you can do to aid the decision-making process, stuff like that. And then once you kind of got all of that figured out, next you want to try and practice speaking through them. So it's more conversational and you're not like just reciting answers like a robot or like being rehearsed. Like, it should be a conversation. It's not an interrogation. Don't think that. Practice with yourself a few times, trying to get that right. And then practice even with someone else and really kind of nail that down so you can get more comfortable talking about yourself and your experiences. And I'll get into practicing with other people a little bit more later on, but let's continue. So the next phase is during the interview. So you've done all your research, you're all prepped, you're ready. Now it's time to actually do the thing. First and foremost, whether it's virtual or in person, make sure you're there on time. Like, don't even be on time. You need to be early, like at least 15 minutes before. You never know what could happen. You don't want to have a bad impression of you being late. That's just not going to be a good look. Always make sure you allot enough time for you to be there at least 10 to 15 minutes beforehand. And if it's virtual, I would say like 20 minutes before, just so you can do a quick tech check. Make sure your systems are all updated, everything's fine, your background is clean and simple, there's nothing distracting going on, you're in a calm and quiet space with no extraneous noises. It's a lot more kind of setup that goes into like a virtual interview for those things, but really take that extra time to do that. And then still have the additional 10 minutes of you just sitting there making sure you're ready and everything is all good, You definitely want to be the first person in the meeting, or that's my philosophy. That's how I like to interview. And once you're fully prepared in that sense, those extra 10 minutes that you're allotted, right, where you're just kind of sitting, chilling, that should be a good time for you to have a little meditation, mindset check, right? Interviewing is one of the things I've noticed that everyone is always super nervous about, and that's totally natural. It's normal, trust me, everyone is, but let's kind of get into why you're nervous, right? So you're scared of being underprepared, there's this weird feeling of uncertainty, you're a little vulnerable, and you want a job. So obviously this is high stakes, right? But let's try to decompress this a bit, because honestly, your nerves are not going to help you at all in this interview. Again, this isn't an interrogation, it's a conversation. Don't worry about whether you're good enough, if you know enough, if you sound smart enough. The world will still turn whether or not you get this job. I have said this to so many people, and it has really helped them a lot. The world will still turn whether or not you get this job. You cannot miss out on anything that is actually meant for you. Hear me, I'm gonna say it again. You cannot miss out on something that is actually meant for you, okay? If you don't get it, it's not meant for you. And it doesn't mean that's not meant for you ever, it's just not the right time. And that's okay. We cannot spend our lives worrying and stressing and being upset about things that we cannot control, because the longer we do, the crazier we are. You literally go insane. You have no control over that situation or that outcome or that predicament. It's happened, okay? So with that mentality of I will still be alive after this, I will still be chilling, go into it with that and be cool. Just focus on having a good time and having a good conversation. Make eye contact, be confident, laugh, and just most importantly, be yourself. This is probably the most crucial thing I could say in this whole interview video is basically be yourself. Because the bottom line is you are being interviewed to see if you are a person that they would want to work with on a day-to-day basis. They really want to see your personality, who you really are. What's it gonna be like working with this person all the time? Are they fun? Are they efficient? Are they intelligent? Do they smile? Do they crack jokes? What kind of person would you want to work with? You know, think about that and present that through your personality, Show them who you are. And it's easier to be yourself when you're not nervous and high on anxiety. So that's why we started with the, hey, check your mindset, bring it in. Whatever happens is gonna happen and it's okay. So don't even worry about that. Let's just focus on having a good time. And that way you can present your true self in a much more better way. And that'll be way more comforting to them to really see who you are, and they'll be much more excited to see you in your full light as a full person of like, oh, I could totally see myself working with this person all the time. And they don't expect you to be perfect. They don't expect you to know everything. I promise you, they're not out to get you. They are looking for help, you know? Obviously there is a need here on both ends, right? So don't even try to like put them on a super high pedestal, you know, like they need you too. Or, you know, they're trying to see how much, and just keep that in mind, you know, be cool. And after you've, you know, done all that, you've actually gone through your interview. Again, don't forget to finish up with your next steps, questions, and stuff like that. And then we move on to post. The post-interview phase, in my opinion, is all about gratitude. Immediately after your interview, you should be sending out thank you messages to all of your interviewers and your recruiters, thanking them for their time, their energy, their consideration, the opportunity, all of the above. And you shouldn't just be showing them gratitude, you should also be showing yourself gratitude. You went through it, you did it. Interviews are hard. Congratulate yourself, celebrate, be grateful to yourself for going through with this, owning it, and just, you know, be proud of what you did. So show them gratitude and show yourself gratitude, and show gratitude no matter what the outcome is. Be grateful no matter what the result is. If you got the job, amazing. If you didn't get the job, amazing. You know why? Because I said it before, I'll say it again. You cannot miss out on something that is meant for you. Of course, you can feel your feelings, you can dwell on that, you can be a little sad, you can be disappointed. Of course you can do all those things. But, you know, set a time limit. All right, I'm gonna feel these feelings for this amount, and then I'm gonna move on. And then I'm gonna keep going, because we cannot sit and, you know, be stuck in the past. Because, you know, the interview, you already did it. It's in the past. Because this is the post-interview. This is after. Why are we still crying about things in the past? You know, we have to move forward. We can't let ourselves get stuck there. You just have to keep on keeping on, because, you know, now that you know that this isn't the path for you at the time, like maybe you'll come back to it, maybe a new path will show up out of nowhere, who knows? You just have to keep moving. I applied for 3 production internships and jobs. I think it was 1 internship and then 2 like PA jobs in college, at the end of college, and I got rejected from all of them. And I was a little sad. I was like, oh, okay, dang, like, all right. But I realized, you know, they're not meant for me. That's cool. I'm gonna just keep pushing. And I kept focusing on my senior thesis, and I was, you know, everyone else was like, oh man, I need a job right after college. I gotta do this, gotta do that. And like, I had those worries too, but I was like, I cannot psych myself out with those thoughts, because psyching myself out does nothing for me. It's actually counterproductive to everything that I'm doing currently. And I can't do a good job currently if I'm worried about things that haven't happened yet or already happened. You know, it really doesn't track. So I just was like, all right, cool. That sucked. Moving on. That wasn't for me. Something else will be for me. Period. And then just like, even just what, like 1 or 2 months later, or 3, like a couple months later, I received 3 offers for production positions that I didn't even apply to. Recruiters reached out to me personally for those opportunities, and I interviewed through there. Don't stress about what the result is gonna be, because like I said, again, you can't miss out on something if it's not for you. And I promise there is something out there for you. But back into the whole post-interview of it all, if you haven't heard back, you know, by the specified time, they'll usually, you know, tell you at the end of your interview, oh, expect to hear something back in a few weeks, or, you know, in a week. If you haven't heard anything back by that allotted time, then you should send your follow-up email. Don't send a follow-up email before that time, because then it's just like, all right, you know, calm down. But once that time period has passed, like even if it's like a day after, hey, you know, just checking in. How's everything going? Is there anything else I can do to help with the decision-making process? Any other supplemental information you may need? let me know, blah, blah, blah. Then you send that email, and that's always a good thing to do. And they're really great because it kind of shows them like, wow, like you're proactive, you're excited about this, like you're serious, you really want this. So it's always a good sign to do that, but make sure you do it after the specified time because you also don't want to be like annoying. And if you did not get the position, then send a follow-up thank you email again. And even if you did get it, you will of course send another follow-up thank you email again. But if you didn't get it, in your follow-up thank you email, also ask for feedback. So that way, you know how you can improve and become a more promising candidate next time. And if you landed the job, congratulations. Thank you so much for tuning in for this elaborate career series. I hope that you found some useful bits of information in here that you can use and ultimately that you land the job. I know that you can do it and you've got what it takes. But if you're interested in some personalized one-on-one coaching, I'm gonna give some of you lucky sunflowers that special opportunity. So as a little special way to commemorate the conclusion of the series, I'm going to be offering a free hour-long landing the job deep dive coaching session where I will help you personally tailor your resume, answer any questions you may have, and even be your interview sparring partner so we can make sure you're sounding confident and conversational and not like you're on trial. So if you're interested in this opportunity, and I know you are, here's what you gotta do. For each video, make sure you, 1, give them a big thumbs up, and then 2, comment what stood out to you the most from that video or share your own relative tip in that same vein. And then after your comment, type ready to land the job. So I know you bought that life. Once I see that across the board on all 3 episodes of the series, I'll respond to your comment with next steps. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I expect to see some of you very soon. So until then, have a great day, make good choices, all that jazz. Bye!